Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess. We are in my kitchen today. We're doing another home canning 2024, and it is a playlist that I have developed for this year. And I am going to be doing white potatoes. I am using my Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation or Home Preserving. The recipe is found on page 392. I always read through my recipes. I always start with a clean kitchen. And this is going to be a cold pack, even though they don't recommend a cold pack. They recommend hot pack. But I don't want my potatoes to fall apart. So I have cut up potatoes and rinsed them several times yesterday. Put them in cold water, let them sit for about 30 minutes, change the water out. And I did that about 4 times last night, and I'm going to drain them this morning, rinse them again, get them in our jars, and get them into our canner. So you want to wash and peel your potatoes, and you want to leave small potatoes whole, but I did not have any really small potatoes. And you can add cold water to prevent the browning. So to prepare these, I'm going to be ladling in cold water because everything is cold. My water is cold, my canner is cold, my potatoes are cold. And I'm going to process my pints for 35 minutes and my quarts would be for 40 minutes. And of course, the headspace is 1 inch. So let's get canning. So our potatoes didn't do this year. We did not get a good crop out of them. We think there was too much nitrogen in the soil or not enough potassium. I'm not sure, but the soil was very, very wet. It could have been that. So we didn't get a big crop out of it. But we went down to the Amish community and we bought some of their potatoes because we know that they're organic and they don't use pesticides and so forth. So I have cut my potatoes up in fairly good sized chunks, at least 1 inch or bigger. And I'm going to drain them, rinse them really good, and we're going to start canning these up. I pulled out 16 pints. This is probably going to be an all-day thing for me to get through 2 gallons of potatoes. But I wanted to show you what I'm doing, and I may not use all the jars. I don't know. We'll find out at the end of the video. But I'm going to drain them. And we're going to get these rinsed. Get rid of our bucket. We don't need this anymore. So I always give them an extra rinse because I'm trying to get rid of as much starch as possible. You don't want cloudy, caked up potatoes as your finished product. And some people will actually use a product called Pickling Crisp. You can use that if you're making French fries or something like that, but these are just going to be for us to mash up or serve as a side. And I'm going to put this other bucket back in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it. Okay, I've got everything set up. I'm going to pour me some vinegar. I've got my lid soaking. I've got my funnel. I've got all my equipment here that I need, and I'm going to use my hands to get those potatoes into the jar. Okay, we're going to fill these jars with water to the 1 inch mark. We're going to debubble. And I've already pulled some water off my tap. Vinegar back up here, I need it in place. So debubble, you go down and you try to get rid of all the bubbles that you got in your jar, because potatoes will have air pockets. And we may have to top off with a little bit of water. And make sure your potatoes are down below that 1 inch mark on your jars. So this is one time I take my time and make sure I get all the bubbles out so we don't have any air pockets in here. Remember, air and light will be the enemies of your canning. Once you can, you want to put them in a cool, dark room and keep them stored that way. And you want to go in there periodically and check to make sure none of the seals have come loose. Push those potatoes in there. I'll bring this in closer so you can actually see what I'm doing. As I push it down, the air pockets release, and you will see bubbles coming up, or you should see bubbles coming up, depending on how good my camera is. And then you want to make sure that the potatoes are below this 1 inch mark. In there. Now I'm going to check to make sure that my gauge is right. This last tooth here is 1 inch. So we're going to just go there. I think I can. That one's good. 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 This first one needs just a tad bit more water. All right, I've debubbled and I've checked my gauge. Now I'm going to wipe the rims with some vinegar, and I'm going to apply my lids and my bands. So I'm just going to do these a couple of jars at a time. Until we get them into our canner. Now my canner is a 16 quart canner. It will hold 8 jars. So you want to use 4 fingers, center it, put a finger on your flat, drop your band, tighten it like that, and then you're going to go back and finger tight and drop it into your canner. Felt that one move, so I'm going to recenter it. Let's try this again. Here we go. And tighten. We'll be back once I have the canner loaded. Okay, my canner has a mark on the side, on this side, and I fill my water line up to that first line that I can feel. And then I added my jars. They're all in here, evenly spaced as much as possible. We're going to apply the lid. We're going to set our temperature on medium-high for this canner, which is number 8 on my electric stove. I have a special burner that I use just for canning on this electric stove. Otherwise, I would burn my electric stove up canning. Always on your canner, they suggest that you put a little bit of oil or grease on your gasket and on the edge of your canner. I'm going to align the arrows. I'm going to check the peephole. It has a safety valve that will pop. These are not like the old canners. If it gets too much pressure in there, that thing will pop. And occasionally you'll have to replace that. And then it has this over here, this little button that pops up that builds up pressure. So I'm going to apply the lid, turn our burner on. Once this comes up to temperature and it starts to steam out of this vent here, I will set my timer for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, I'm going to apply my weight. This little weight here is 10 pounds. It goes 5, 10, and 15 increments, depending on your altitude. I will apply it to the vent, and once I hear it jiggling and this little button is popped up, I will set my timer for 35 minutes for the pints or 40 minutes for quarts. Once it goes through the process of 40 minutes, I allow it to cool down naturally. I don't disturb it. I just turn my heat source off and allow it to cool down. Usually it takes about 35 minutes for my canner to cool down. I also make sure all my vents are closed off in my house because I have vents that blow up from the floor. Some people have them blow down from the ceiling, so you want to cut off your vents in the room that you're canning in. This just assures that your jars are not going to bust when they hit that temperature difference. We've had a full head of steam going for 10 minutes, and I'm going to apply the weight. Once this starts jiggling, a steady jiggle, we will set our timer for 35 minutes for pints, 40 minutes for quarts. Okay, I have turned off my burner and we're going to let this sit for about 35 minutes or until it's completely cool. Then we'll remove our jars from the canner. Alright, it's been resting for about 35 minutes. The button is down. This is not jiggling anymore. I can safely remove that. I'm going to open this away from me because I don't want a steam bath face. Ooh, hot. I'm going to get my mat laid out. And I'm going to start removing my jars from the canner. Now you can wait 5 minutes before you remove them. That is probably the best method. So let's wait 5 minutes. Alrighty, it's been about 5 minutes. We're going to start removing our jars from the canner. And they are boiling hot. Beautiful potatoes though. Look at that. Let's get that on our mat. You don't ever set hot jars on a cold counter without something between the counter and your jars. They look very good. Just like we want them to look. These will cool on my counter for 12 to 24 hours undisturbed. Then I will remove the bands. I will wash the jars down, dry them, make sure that the gaskets on the flats are sealed, label them, and get them into a dark, cool pantry. And I should have 16 jars by the time I'm finished. Now, my canner, I'm going to dump the hot water, put in cold water, establish my the rest of my jars, get them into the canner, and redo the process today. And they're pinging. Happy pings. We have 16 pints of home canned potatoes, white potatoes, y'all. I'm so excited to have these on the pantry shelf. This is my first time actually canning potatoes like this. First time, they didn't turn out too good, but this is a good run. Thank you all for watching. This is homecanning2024, and hear those pings. Those are a wonderful sound. 16 meals sitting there, y'all. 16 sides for a meal. Be blessed, everybody.